Sean, can you tell me a little bit about how playing in the Adriatic League, and again, Super Basket, not one of the world premier squads, but a decent club in its own right, in the Adriatic League. Tell us a little bit about how that might translate to playing in the ACC, and then if you might push that a little bit farther to help us understand what a contribution from Bogavac might look like.
Sure. I think one, his age as well as the level of competition. For the most part, you're playing against grown men, which is only going to help when now you're playing for the most part against 18 to 22-year-olds, and also given that he's pretty much age wise a traditional junior or perhaps senior. I think he has physically built out. He's not a, I wouldn't say strength is his main issue, but he does have that development that has occurred already. And then in the Adriatic League, it's not Euro League or Euro Cup, but as I mentioned, you do have some teams playing in those competitions. So you are going against former some of the Americans were former top college players and played in the G League, maybe sniffed the NBA. They're 25, 27, etc. So he just having that, I think makes that makes that jump to college a little easier than it does for an 18-year-old coming out of high school and AAU, just from that professionalism perspective and the coaching. And you're not gonna, it's not an easy time, so you have to adapt to everybody else versus people adapting to you. I think the one thing would be mentally, when conference play is going on in January, February, the winters are long, not longer than what they are in Montenegro or the Eastern Europe, for instance, but you're still away from home. It's a different language. And to me, that would be more of the concern of how do you get through that hard time versus the adjustment. And then in terms of what he does bring to UNC this year, I think, not to say it's a duplication of what Dixon brings, but you are adding another. I think the shooting has been a concern across the board of Seth Trimble as the starting shooting guard. Evans obviously brings shooting. Powell brings shooting. You're hoping he can take a leap, but it brings another guy that should be able to bring shooting off the bench. But once again, more than just catch and shoot opportunities. So I think he has a chance to compete for a starting spot at that two, or maybe play up a little bit at the three. Sorry, more the three, knowing that Evans Trimble will be starting, but at the same time, at the very least, being a reliable and one of the go-to bench guys that would come off the bench in, say, a 6 to 8 man rotation. So I think from a scoring perspective, he's averaging, I want to say 14 or 15 right now in that league as one of the go-to guys on a team that isn't as built out as maybe some of the other top teams. But I think it does allow him to have a consistent scoring, consistent scoring threat when he does get to UNC.
And I think heading into this month with the ads that UNC has now, the biggest questions were like who's going to create shots and who is going to make shots. I think that's fair to say. And so, Bogavac kind of solves, you would think, or helps solve the who's going to, hit shots one, because he has that experience that Sean talked about. And I mean, he shot almost 40%. It's not like on a small volume or anything. I think the best game of the season, he had 27 points. I think he hit either 5 or 7 threes. I can't remember, just briefly looking at the stats. So there's that. But then also, like Sean said, this is kind of a grown man. He's 21 years old. He'll be 22 soon. And you don't want someone coming into a new country to be your leader, but at worst, he can be kind of the person that you model your game after, because he's been a pro for quite some time. So coming into a locker room where there's going to be a lot of disparate parts, there's going to be new people. Seth Trimble and James Brown and Zayden High are the only ones back from UNC last year. They're going to need to kind of look at like who's an example of like just go out there and handle my business and do my job. And I think he could be that, because again, he's been a pro. To Sean's point, he's going to be away from home, so he's probably not going to be heading to the Outer Banks or anything during the season. He's going to be locked in, focused on playing basketball. And when you have someone like that, it's infectious. I remember hearing so many times about the Luke May excuse me, Luke May, Justin Jackson, Kenny Williams group. And they always talked about one of them would be in the gym and the other two would be in the room. And they're like, oh, he's in the gym. We need to be in the gym. And so all it takes is one person to start that and it becomes infectious. So why wouldn't somebody who's been a pro for 4 or 5, 4 years, why couldn't they come in and be that person from Carolina? Not necessarily a vocal leader, but just like lead by example.